I assume we are good to go. Uh-oh. Hey, what's going on with my presentation? Let's see. So can anyone, I assume that you can hear me. Is that correct? Can I get a confirmation that we're good to go? All right, good to go. All right, well, welcome. My name's Travis Costanza. This is a presentation for educators and vaping, what you guys need to know. I'm a certified tobacco treatment specialist here at Oxygen Health. 2 days a week, I work in a clinic helping patients quit using tobacco products. And then 2 days a week, I do community outreach events like this. This presentation is something that was developed with the help of educators at Benjamin Franklin High School. They wanted more information for their staff members. So this was a collaborative effort with them for some information to kind of better educate the staff members. So today what we're going to look at is what an e-cigarette is, what is vaping, what is the chemical makeup of vape juices, obviously who the target population is, and what to look for in your students, where is it happening, and of course everybody wants to know where are they getting it from. Every picture you see here in this presentation is some sort of electronic device that some of them look exactly like a cigarette. We call them a cig-alike, or a vape pen, maybe a box or a mod, which is this one, all the way down to the vape pod, also known as a jewel. So what is an e-cigarette and what do they look like? Well, again, like I said before, all these are pictures of different electronic cigarettes. We do know that e-cigarettes are devices that produce an aerosol by heating a liquid, which usually contains nicotine, flavorings, and other chemicals. They're available in many shapes and sizes, so that's one of the reasons we're having problems finding what kids are using or where they're using them. Commonly called e-cigs, puff boxes, mods, carts, or carts with a K, vapes. And one thing that I've learned after presenting to over 100 schools in the New Orleans metropolitan area is that depending on where you go is really what the kids call them. I've had kids all over the area call them all kinds of different names. Some call them cloudy pins, yaks, leafs. It really depends on where you go. We do know that e-cigs are being used for marijuana and other drugs. And of course, we do know that e-cigarettes are considered a tobacco product. One of the things that a lot of people are unaware of is that the deaths that are linked to vaping are usually from either synthetic marijuana or other drugs that are put inside of these vaping devices. These are, again, different ones. We have the refillable vape pod. We have a refillable pod like this one. This is a smoke. Most of these are made by the brand name of Smoke, but all of our big tobacco companies also have them. This is another Bod Mox that is a refillable. Number 4 is the most famous one, I think, that everyone has heard of a jewel. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know is these little pods or these jewel pods can be refilled. Even though they come pre-filled from the manufacturer, they can be taken out and refilled. A lot of people are refilling these with synthetic THCs. I've had some students and some of the schools I've presented said that kids were finding them on the street, filling them up with different chemicals from Drano to Raid wasp spray, and selling them as, loaded jewel pods, which is, beyond me that they would even think about that. And of course, we have these, the disposable e-cigarette or the cig-alikes, which is number 5. Number 6 is just a cartridge e-cig. Again, it looks like a cigarette. 7 is what we call a refillable cartomizer. So again, another one that you can put a different cartridge in. 8 is another refillable. 9 and 10 and 11 are all what we consider a box vape or a tube box mod, where this is the large area where the heat element is, where the battery goes in here, and then there's a heating element. So these pack a big punch. If you've ever been on the street seeing someone blow a big cloud out, this is one of the things that they're probably using. Most of our students are going to have these. They're going to be in this area. So where do they find them? Well, surprise, they're everywhere. And I have a little video that I'd like to show you guys that I found out there. That is, when we watch this, you'll see why it's so difficult for teachers. So it's a little 5-minute video. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. Let me know if the sound is working, please. Oh, boy. Apologize for the ad.
Travis, there's no sound.
Y'all don't have sound?
No. Did you see? Can you see the announcement across the front of the screen?
I'm sorry.
Do you see the announcement across the front of the screen that says no sound?
No, I don't. All I'm seeing is just me, basically.
Okay.
So, I see no sound right there. How can I back that up to get sound?
Let's see. Hold on. Let's see.
You want me to rewind it?
Yeah, you could just rewind it and play it.
Okay. Yeah, I can't. It's kind of hard. I don't know if the audience can even hear me right now. I can't see anything other than what's going on my screen.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's not playing sound. Maybe if I play it, and we'll see as the host.
Okay.
So, just share the website for me right quick on YouTube.
Okay. Sure. Yep. Well, of course. Now it's. Let's see. Okay. Is there a way I can send it to you through the
Just give me the title of it and I'll look it up.
Here, I just pasted it in the chat.
Okay, great.
Okay. Sorry. Of course, if there's going to be an issue, it's going to be with me. I'm telling you.
It is okay. I'm still not seeing it in the chat yet, so.
Oh, really? It says private chat. If you type in, let's see. If you type in, students are hiding vaping devices in plain sight today, that should be it. It's from the Today Show.
Okay. Hold on.
Of course, there's going to be an ad, right?
Can you hear?
I don't hear anything right now. I see it, but I don't hear it. It says no sound again.
Oh, I can take that off.
I hope they were.
Can the audience hear? If you all could let us know in the chat.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, we may have to skip this part. And I'll work on that while you're finishing up the presentation. We can bring it on to the end of it.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. So you want to bring me back to my presentation?
I'm going to remove my screen.
Okay.
And I'll share yours again.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Looks like we had a little technical difficulty. They're going to work on it for the sound aspect. But this video is about 5 minutes. It's really beneficial for you to watch to kind of see, you know, what these devices look like, how difficult it is to find them. I mean, it's hard enough, you know, to keep control of a classroom and keep kids engaged in a learning topic, much less have to compete with an electronic device that they are so used to having in their hands. So if they can get it back, if we can get sound in, we'll play it at the end. So what is vaping? The CDC defines vaping as the act of inhaling and exhaling an aerosol, which is produced by an electronic cigarette or similar device. One thing a lot of people don't realize is that it is an aerosol. The vapor produced consists of fine particles containing toxic chemicals and substances, and the chemicals are used in a manner which they are not intended, and that is what makes them toxic. One of the things that I share with my audiences are usually 6th through 12th graders. I have another presentation that I kind of copy this with them, and one of the things that, you know, people always say, oh, well, it's food grade. Well, of course it is, but when we think about the way that you eat foods versus, you know, the way we are not supposed to eat them, you know, it kind of makes sense where you wouldn't grind up a hamburger and snort it up your nose because, well, that's not the way it's intended to be eaten, through your mouth. So this slide is probably the most informative for all presentations that I do, because a lot of chemicals that are in these vape juices are not really, they're not disclosed. And so on the right side of the screen, you see a little bottle, and this is what most electronic cigarette liquids look like. And if you go to any of the websites that these chemicals are manufactured by, they'll tell you that there's distilled water, which we all know is safe. You know, it's just water that we use for sleeping devices, for CPAP machines, for making baby formula. And most people think, oh, distilled water, not a big deal. Propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin, those two products are also inside of our electronic cigarette liquids. One of the things that most people don't know is that propylene glycol is a food grade antifreeze, which is used in food production. Same thing with vegetable glycerin. It's used as a lubricant, which allows food not to stick on conveyor belts. Nicotine concentrate, of course, we all have heard how bad nicotine is over the years, but most people don't realize how deadly it is. It's a very lethal, on top of addictive substance, and it takes about 25 milliliters of an injection to kill someone. For average adult kids, it's between 8 and 12. So nicotine concentrate is very lethal, which most people don't realize how bad it is. And then, of course, artificial flavorings, same ones that are found in our foods. If you look out on the internet, you'll find over 15,000 different e-liquid flavors. And I have flavors in quotes because we think of flavors that go into our mouth, not up our nose. It used to be around 7,000 that the FDA used to identify, but because so many people are mixing and matching them up to get the different flavors or the different, chemicals that they're looking for. For example, they might have a strawberry and they might have a cotton candy. Well, then they mix the two and they get a strawberry cotton candy. Or you may get a vanilla and a mint, so you get a vanilla mint extract type flavor. If you put any of these 15,000 e-liquid flavors into a spectrum analyzer, which is a chemical analyzation machine, we do know about 42 chemicals that show up in just about every one. Listed a couple of them here because most people have heard of some of these, and if not, they can relate to them. Benzene, which is a chemical found in pesticides or bug killers and gasoline. The easiest way I like to explain this to my audiences is that benzene kind of smells like gasoline. It is an industrial chemical. Formaldehyde, I think all adults know pretty much what that's used for the preservation of dead bodies. I usually tell my students in my presentations that this is the stuff that the frog or the eyeball of the cow or the owl pellet, it's what they preserve those organs in, that they dissect from anywhere between 7th and 12th grade. And of course, we talked about nicotine. Nicotine is that addictive substance that's found in cigars, cigarettes, and any tobacco product. Then again, of course, the propylene glycol, we said that is that main ingredient. It gives the liquid, the syrupy, viscous texture. It's not water. It kind of looks like water. Propylene glycol is also used in smoke machines. So if you've ever been to a haunted house, you'll see that. They'll have big jugs of it and they'll pour that into the smoke machine. But there's so many other chemicals that are inside of the vape juices that we don't really talk about. Some of them I have listed that are not on this slide, but I just kind of wanted to touch base on them. One of them is acetaldehyde, which is a poisonous solvent that's also included in paint stripper. Isoprene, which is a chemical used to make rubber. Acetone, and then of course heavy metals such as nickel, lead, and tin are used in the coils that heat up to turn the liquid into a vapor. And then, of course, acetyls are formed when vape flavors are mixed with solvents such as propylene glycol and vegetable glycerins. And we know that those chemicals are toxic for inhalation. Some common flavors. These are ones that I put in here because almost every one of us have had one of these flavors in our everyday food that we eat. Mint, of course, has menthol in it. You've probably had it if you've used any type of mint chewing gum. We do know that mint causes damage to epithelial cells. Those are cells that line the blood vessels inside of the heart. Of course, vanilla, the chemical inside of it is vanillin. Vanillin is one of those chemicals that's in just about every single thing that we eat or every vape liquid that's out there. It's in any of the ones. It's artificial vanilla extract. That is the main chemical structure of it. And of course, we know that it can cause irritation to the lungs. Mint flavors does cause cell death. The vanilla flavors cause heart damage. And then, of course, we have cinnamon or cinnamaldehyde, which is another chemical that if you like spicy Mike and Ike's, Fireball candies, Altoid mints, Big Red chewing gum, the little Red Hots, those are all those chemicals that are in there. So if you've ever put one of those artificial cinnamon candies into your mouth, it gives you that strong bite. We also use cinnamon candies in helping patients who are addicted to cigarettes or tobacco products because they affect the same brain receptors in a common way that help cravings with nicotine. Then, of course, butter. Butter has the diacetyl group that's been out in the media, over the last few years. People call it popcorn lung. If you've heard of a person, there's many, many stories out there about young people vaping, and then all of a sudden they need a lung transplant. That's because the diacetyl group in the chemicals causes scar tissue in the lungs, and that causes the alveoli or the air sacs in the lungs to scar up and then they don't work properly. Unfortunately, the only fix for that is a lung transplant. And of course, we have strawberry, which is a chemical known as dimethyltryptamine, another known irritant. One thing that we know that a lot of these chemicals do create acetyls, which are chemicals that cause irritation to the skin. And of course, every one of these chemicals we've had or we've been exposed to. Butter, just to kind of reiterate that, is it's the main smell in microwave popcorn. So if you throw a bag of popcorn in the microwave, 2 minutes later, you pop it out, you smell that great butter smell. That is this diacetyl group. So the one thing about vapes is the unknown chemicals in vape juices. And there's a lot of unknowns because none of these are regulated by the FDA. And so, of course, that's where we have problems. Liquid flavorings can produce unknown chemicals when you heat them up and modify them. The flavors may be safe for eating, but not breathing. And of course, we do know that new compounds may be formed when flavors react with propylene glycol. These chemicals may be linked to inflammation of the lungs, chronic cough, and of course, asthma. So I like to tell my students in the presentation that if you do have asthma, you're just basically fast forwarding it and making it that much worse. So by now, I think you have an idea that the target population is not adults. It's going to be middle school and high school students. E-cigarettes are the most commonly used tobacco product amongst youth since 2014. And of course, Big Tobacco has always targeted teens for years. And in some of their internal reports pulled in the 1998 Big Tobacco lawsuit, these are some quotes from the Big Tobacco's internal reports. Most of you have heard of Philip Morris. They make Marlboro. Today's teenager is tomorrow's potential regular customer, and the overwhelming majority of smokers first begin to smoke while in their teens. The smoking patterns of teenagers are particularly important to Philip Morris. Of course it is, because when teens start to smoke, the magic age of 15 for boys, 16 for girls, it takes about 4 to 5 years for our brain to completely chemically change the biology of the way the chemicals react to nicotine. So, of course, Philip Morris knows that. They knew that many, many years ago, and they decided, well, we're going to target kids in their teens. That way, when they become adults and their brain chemistry is changed and modified, now we know that we got them for life. That's why it's so difficult to get someone to stop smoking. And even people who do not smoke anymore tend to have cravings throughout their life. R.J. Reynolds, like I said, evidence is now available to indicate that the 14 to 18-year-old group is an increasing segment of the smoking population. R.J. Reynolds Tobacco must soon establish a successful new brand in this market if our position in the industry is to be maintained in long term. I don't know how much more obvious it is than that. They are definitely targeting teenagers. Brown and Williamson, Cool Steak in the 16 to 25-year-old population segment is such that the value of this audience should be accurately weighted and reflected in current media programs. All magazines will be reviewed to see how efficiently they reach this group. One thing that most people do not realize is that Brown and Williamson created the Cool cigarette to target the African-American population in the 70s. Lorilla Tobacco, the base of our business is the high school student. Doesn't get any more obvious who they're targeting there. And then, of course, same thing with U.S. Tobacco. Cherry Skull is for somebody who likes the taste of candy, if you know what I'm saying. Again, doesn't get any more obvious that they are targeting our children. Thus, we need to get the point across to them that, these companies are not looking out for their best interest. So what to look for in your students? I put together a bunch of different things. Now, some of these are based off of some of the staff at Benjamin Franklin. They wanted to know, what was going on. And then, of course, we have some of the obvious side effects of nicotine withdrawal. Do your students look suspicious? Are they hiding something in a hoodie or a sweatshirt? Often students will try to vape in class by placing their hand to their mouth and exhale inside of their jacket. And minus a little bit of fruity smell, almost like a body spray, you probably wouldn't realize it other than, hey, what's going on over there? Those kids look suspicious. Do they have a headache? Often students who are suffering from nicotine withdrawals or nicotine overdose will complain of a headache and want to leave the room to use their e-cigarette. Also, if they have too much nicotine, I don't mean an overdose because there's really no overdose scientific evidence for overdose in nicotine, because they found that as we increase our nicotine intake in our bodies, our body will adjust to it. But if a child who's not used to having nicotine is vaping a 3 or 5% nicotine jewel pod, and they're doing it constantly, they may get too much nicotine. It causes them to feel car sick and have a headache. Are they sweaty? Increased sweating often occurs when students are needing their fix. This is more for our gym teachers, or on hot days, we'll notice kids that'll sweat in it, or just out of the ordinary, like, well, why are you sweating? It's because they need their fix. Of course, they may seem sad about nothing in general. Depression is one of those nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Of course, seem agitated or anxious, another nicotine withdrawal symptom. Tired or groggy, they just can't get with it, or they can't get going. That's one where they may need more nicotine. And one is that a lot of people don't realize, but they're not able to concentrate or focus on regular day-to-day tasks. That is one that most people think, oh, well, nicotine helps me concentrate. It doesn't help you concentrate, but what it does do is it is a stimulant. And of course, chronic cough. Kids will always cough if they're taking a vape or a cigarette, because it is getting those chemicals into their lungs. Any of these symptoms can be an alarm that your students are having nicotine withdrawals. You know your students better than their parents, because most of the time you see them, more than their parents do in a day. And if they seem off, they probably have something going on. So keep an eye out on them. Where are they using these vapes? Well, the funny thing is, just about everywhere. And if we can get that video to work at the end of the presentation, you'll see an example in a classroom. But students are using them in classrooms, bathrooms. Some schools are only allowing kids to go with a bathroom monitor 2 at a time, because it's become such an epidemic in their bathrooms. Of course, school buses. If a school bus driver is paying attention to the road, it's kind of difficult to see what's going on in the back of the bus, especially if a kid has their head down below the bus seat. Very easy to use. Hallways. Kids are using them in a hallway and just kind of blowing them, in crowded areas, because no one knows, oh, well, where did it come from? Recess areas, out at the, in the lunchroom, or where kids might be out on the playground. Of course, gym class, because there's so many kids moving around. It's easy for them to take a little hit and blow it out. You never know what's going on. And then, of course, areas without regular supervision, where students can know that there's a blind spot in the camera system. If your school is equipped with cameras, of course, they can go in, take a little hit, pass it off to a friend. The friend gets a little hit or a pull, and before you know it, there's no telling where it's going. And you got places without supervision being, one of those targeted areas that students know about. And of course, assembly. Some kids are as bold and brass to use them in an assembly, where they know that there's 1 or 2 people paying attention, and they can put their head in their hoodie or their jacket and kind of blow out smoke. Where are teens getting their vapes? Well, most of us think, oh, well, they must be getting it in person. But believe it or not, there's 2 places that we find. One is online, where websites do not verify customers' ages. An underage person can say they are 21 and enter a site to purchase vaping products. And all you need is a credit card or debit card or a prepaid Visa gift card. So a kid can go online, and when they go enter a website, it'll pop up a screen that says, hey, are you 21? They check a box that says yes. They may have to put a birth date in that allows them access to the website, and then they can go add to their shopping cart. And before you know it, they're getting a vape product delivered to their house. Sometimes the vape companies will even disguise their packaging, or it'll disguise the way that it rings up on your debit card or your billing statement. So it looks like a traditional online purchase. Those are the scariest ones. But the even more scarier is in person. Friends will buy for underage vapors a lot of times. Siblings will buy for them. Hey, big brother or big sister, go get me some vape liquid. And that happens. And of course, the black market is the scariest, because that's the one where I was telling you guys that kids, will pick up jewel pods or, devices that they can fill up with anything they want. And unfortunately, that's the ones you have to worry about. I tell all of my audiences, hey, if you're going to vape or you want to try a vape, because let's face it, guys, kids are going to do things, that we did. It's just a different age, where in our age, it was, hey, someone stole a pack of smokes from their mom or dad, or, maybe a little bottle of booze, and we go try it out. Well, now these kids are getting it with a vape. And so, the black market is the scariest, because kids are just putting whatever they want in them. And then, of course, unfortunately, parents who think vaping is a safer alternative to smoking. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. In fact, when I started doing some research for this presentation, I went into a few vape stores here in the New Orleans metro area. And the number one thing that everyone said in common was, parents will buy their kids a vape just so that they will not go buy one on their own. And that's sad, because we're basically contributing to their delinquency or to their addiction, especially if they're very young, 14, 15 years of age. Parents don't realize that we are chemically changing their brains and causing addiction. So that's where they're getting them from. I think that the big thing is, being aware of what's out there for our kids to get them, because if we're not, that's how we're going to put these things in their hands. So in conclusion, I know we're running a little early. Hopefully we can get the slide up. For 2017 to 2019, current e-cigarette use is more than doubled among high school students, from 11.7 to 27.5. The usage tripled among middle school students, from 3.3 to 10.5, according to the 2019 National Tobacco Survey. Now, that's nationwide, but here in Louisiana, 32% of high school students and 15% of middle school students have used an e-cigarette device. That is one of those things that we really need to be aware of, that we are, in our high school, we're way higher than the national average for both. And unfortunately, it's kind of goes with our culture here in Louisiana, and we need to really address that with our students. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me at travis.costanza@auctioneer.org. Or if you have any questions now, I'll be glad to answer any. I know we've gone a little bit quicker than I expected.
I can play the video now, Travis.
Oh, that would be great. So,
okay, so I'm going to share my screen and do it.
Okay, how do I see it? Do I just click hide?
You should be able to see it. You can see your screen right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm about to switch it over.
Okay, great. So do I need to click hide or stop sharing?
Hold on.
Okay.
Got it. Can you see it?
No. Let me get out of here. Let me go back to let's see. Can
maybe
you
stop screen on your end?
Okay. Yep. So
you can see it?
I think so. Is it paused?
Yes, it's paused.
Yes, ma'am. You can try it. Let's see.
Okay. Here we go.
Take a close look. This student is outfitted with vaping devices, but you can't see them. Why? They're designed to look just like normal school gear, for sale online and in vape shops, giving kids new ways to hide their vaping habits anywhere they go, including school.
Oops. rampant. I think every administrator who has a middle school and high school are grappling with vaping issues.
Superintendent Melissa Varley oversees the Berkeley Heights School District in New Jersey.
It's virtually undetectable. We don't know if a student is vaping in a classroom.
So would you know what to look for?
We're taking over a classroom at this high school. It's filled with student volunteers. Thank you, guys. We're going to plant these hidden vaping devices and bring in teachers and parents and see just how well they do at spotting the vape.
I get to work
Here's one that's designed to look just like a black marker.
stashing stuff all over the classroom.
So this guy looks like a USB. It's not, it's a vape.
And on students too.
Sophia looks like she's just wearing a regular hoodie, but underneath a vaping device.
Some vapes even look just like school supplies.
Looks just like a pen, but the vaping device is inside and you can write with it.
Time to bring in our volunteers.
I'm Vicki Wynn with the Today Show.
It's nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Miss Moretti.
Okay, Miss Moretti.
Yes.
We want to know if you can spot the vape. So we have outfitted this classroom with vaping devices. Look high, look low. You ready?
I think I'm ready.
You get 1 minute.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
She spots a couple of them,
That device that Dom's got there,
but breezes right past most
I think that could be.
before time runs out.
2, and that is time. How many of you had a vaping device that she spotted?
3 items. Not bad.
How many of you actually have vaping devices?
But she missed 11 of the 14 items we hid.
It's scary because it could be just in plain sight.
Some teachers spot a couple of the more obvious ones,
That looks like one too.
but most miss the harder to find items like this watch.
Sam is wearing what looks like a smartwatch, but if you press this button, this part comes out. You can fill this with nicotine and it's an e-cigarette.
It blends in so nobody would ever know.
All 5 teachers missing this vape backpack.
This one's got a hidden device right here in the strap.
And I'm a hiker. I mean, this is the first thing I would think of as be camelback so that we can get water through it.
And the hoodie.
I think it's ingenious marketing, and I'm a little frightened.
This could be happening right under your nose.
Absolutely. It could be happening in my house. I have a 15-year-old.
Wow.
So now, no hoodies.
Even this school aide, a retired police officer, missing the watch and pen.
Very disheartening that there's so many out there that the kids can get access to.
What about parents? Will they do a better job spotting the vape?
I think that's a vaping device.
Not this group.
He was writing with a pen, but inside the pen,
Got me. I'm gonna go home and check pens.
Parent after parent also mistaking the decoys for vapes.
I was pointing at this one, but that looks fairly suspicious as well.
That's just a marker. And they confuse the real vapes for regular items.
what did you think this was?
Didn't even think to look at that. Probably a marker or an eraser or a highlighter.
The most any of our volunteers spotted, just 5 of the 14 items we hid. That's 36%, a failing grade.
It's very, very scary.
An eye-opening experience for both teachers and parents.
If you have to hide something, then there's something wrong with it.
Scary to see how easily they can hide things like that.
Parents need to be more invasive in their kids' spaces and really actively engaged.
Yeah, we reached out to the Vapor Technology Association. They told us they don't approve of underage use of these types of devices, and they're working to raise the purchase age to 21. I brought some of these items so you all could see. You know, this one looks like a marker, and that's what people would mistake it for. Check that out. This is the highlighter we were talking about, Hoda.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, as you know,
Show that
the
watch. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Okay.
this one, you just pop it out right here, and it tells the time, so you can easily see that there's a digital readout.
Right.
This
The
is
hoodie
crazy,
another
the
one.
hoodie.
Nobody got the hoodie.
Craig, I'll return your hoodie later. But no, but it's insane. I mean,
right.
that's like a vaping thing in here.
Vicky, but if
Right.
you're a teacher in class, like, wouldn't you see a kid who's like, even if they're
You would think so, but they break off into study groups, and that was what the teachers were telling us. You're dealing with 30 kids at
Walk
a
to the
time.
bathroom.
Exactly, down the hall. I mean,
Right.
it just makes it so much easier. And when you have a little tiny pen like this,
Yeah.
that you can
Come on,
actually do
look
your
at that.
homework with.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a real big challenge for teachers and parents. And they were talking about schools have anti-tobacco campaigns. Check to see if your district has one like the one we were at. That's another way that you can stay on top of this and have those conversations with the kids as well.
Vicky,
All right, Vicky, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so okay, so we good? I can't hear you. Okay. So sorry guys if you guys can hear me with the technical difficulties. I apologize for that. But you're more than welcome to shoot me an email, or if you have questions now's the time to ask. I've been in the schools pretty THC dabs, sure. So we have a question about the THCs, so let's kind of go over that. For those of you that know, THC is the chemical that gets you high in marijuana. A lot of people are like, oh, well, it's just marijuana. Well, it's not. Okay, so there's two different types of chemicals out there. Let's go over, so when you smoke a cigarette, one of the things that we know that a cigarette is, all natural cigarette nicotine. With these vaping devices, it's known as a nicotine salt, which is a chemical structure. Same thing with THC, with the THC vapes. They're not, a lot of them say they will wash the THC out of typical a marijuana plant, whether it be a bud or a stem or a leaf, however they can get the THC out of it. But they say that they wash it out with butane to get it, and then they extract the butane to give you pure THC. One of the things that we do know is that the THC dabs, most of them are synthetic marijuana. You guys may have heard them known as bath salts. In our society, we talk about synthetic marijuana, and that's what the THC, the dabs are, is that it's 100% synthetic. One thing I know a lot of people don't realize, there was a video of a guy that went viral a couple of years ago. It's been a few years where there's a guy going through a grand mal seizure and having a serious reaction to what people said were bath salts. Well, it happened in Covington, Louisiana, on the North Shore, and he was vaping synthetic THC. So that's the one thing that I want to warn you guys to really be on the lookout is, kids are looking at this as an outreach, just like when we were kids. Peer pressure is different. So we would smoke cigarettes or drink alcohol. Now they're using a vape. And so the synthetics that are in there are not the same as what you would have gotten, 25, 30 years ago. Did that answer your question, Josette? Okay, one of the things I did want to mention to you guys as well, that Auctioner is trying to plan, is to do a type of program to help with students who are, using a vape or cigarettes or nicotine device, because there is no real rehabilitation, with our juvenile side, where, kids are caught with a vape, and the first thing they do is smoke, vape, and then they get suspended. And then they come back to school, and then what? What do we do with them? And that's one of the things that Auctioner Health is trying to do. We're putting together a program to work with our local schools to help with, kids on that aspect of, using and coping mechanism. Skunky scent in the parking lot, car doors open, behind. The chemical, the skunky scent with pot, or is that what you're talking about, or with the vape? I know the skunky smell that you normally smell with marijuana was the original, that kind of the THC smell of burning weed, I guess we call it, a marijuana cigarettes. But today, now there's weed or marijuana that has smells that you wouldn't believe. Some of them smell aromatic to where you wouldn't think it was pot. Is that what you're talking about, Lisa? Yes. Yeah, that's one of the things that we believe is that smell, that mixed with the burning organics in it. Any other questions? How many of you all in this are educators as far as classroom teachers? You're welcome. One of the things that we're trying to do with Auctioner is to, like I said, develop an outreach program that would help kids, develop skills and coping mechanisms very similar to our adult smoking cessation program. And that's one of the things that we really are trying to push forward in the next few years, mostly parents and school counselors. Okay, gotcha. Well, parents and educators, this presentation is really beneficial to both because, most people don't realize, what's out there. The video is beneficial. One thing that I do also offer is professional development for your schools. So if you would like for me to come to the Baton Rouge area to discuss presentations on vaping for students or vaping as professional development, I can do that as well. All you have to do is shoot me an email. It's in the presentation. Excuse me, in the presentation. Okay, addictions counselor, school counselor. Monica, you said addictions counselor. Are you in a school or do you work for a doctor's office? My email address, just so in case you guys are very interested in getting me out there, is Travis, Travis, then a period, Costanza, Costanza, at auctioner.org, and it's OCHSNER.org. Okay, rehab facility. Cool. I was just curious. Do you see a lot of people who are in rehab facilities, we found that, they say, oh, well, don't quit, smoking while they're trying to quit whatever drug they're in there for. And they found that a lot of, there's been a lot of studies that patients, are no, they're no more at risk to having a relapse if you quit both. So we do have a lot of information for the school systems. So if you would like to reach out to me, I would be glad to come visit. It's one of the things that we're trying to do. Katina, contact information be placed in the chat. I guess so, but I don't know how. I don't have an option for that. And of course, I'm not, you know what? Let me see. Let me go back to the slideshow. Can you guys see this? Let's see. Let me share this screen. Let me share this. Here it is right here. I hope you guys can see that. Like I said, unfortunately, I do not have a way to show you that information through the chat. There's no option for me. Let's see. I guess I could write it on the back. Dry erase board. It's Travis, Travis. Can someone type this into the chat room for me, if you don't mind? Because all I have is the private chat option with.
I'm typing it in.
Oh, you are a dear. Thank you. I'm not sure why I didn't have that option.
Oh. Thank you, Miss Green. She beat me to the punch.
Oh, thank you, Miss Green. You are a dream. Any other questions, guys? Seems to be a little bit of a delay. Okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Well, that wraps it up. If there's no more questions, I don't see anyone asking.
I don't see any either. Thank everyone for attending this session. Hopefully it was very informative for you all, and it would be great to even be able to get some additional information about this subject, because we know that this is very popular. I'm sure middle school and high school teachers would like to know this information as well. And I think that video that Travis showed was a great indicator of how little education we have on vaping, and knowing how to identify them in the classroom or even in your own home. So thank you so much, Travis, for all of the great information. And if no one else has any other questions, we will end this session.
I just want to throw it out there again that I can come to your school for free outreach on smoking and vaping. I can either do it to your, with your students as a whole group, small class, virtual, whatever you guys need me to do, I can do it. Or if you would like professional development with your staff, we can do that as well. Just shoot me an email.
All right, that concludes this session. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good day, guys. Appreciate y'all attending.